Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Alright, we are going to finish out our week of highlighting our gorgeous Stampin' Up! Cardstock with a large candy bar card and box in one. How beautiful is this? The candy bar sits in there. I've gone to the store like 3 or 4 times to get the candy bar and I completely forgot. So we're just going to pretend like there's candy bar in there. Obviously you can use what you want. It doesn't have to be a king size. You can get about 4 of these Lindor skinny ones and stick those in there. 2 regular Kit Kats will fit in there. You could put hot chocolate mix. You can put a bunch of like Werther's Original. Whatever you have, you can put in the box. I would use this as the teacher gift for Valentine's Day, coworker gifts, you know, neighbor gifts, whatever you would like. This tutorial is by Sam Calcott UK Mixed Up Craft, and it is called the Gift and Card Box in One. Now, one little tip I would suggest if you're going to use this for a craft fair, I would suggest to go ahead and when you're doing this white panel, to go ahead and stamp it, but don't stick it down. So that way the recipient can write the note and then glue it on. I would probably add like tear and tape on the back so that way they can just, you know, glue it on. All right, so let's start with housekeeping. Again, this is Highland Heather. All of the cardstock is on page 122 of the annual catalog, Stampin' Up. Heather Highland is the Settles collection. Okay, we're also using this punch. So you get a scalloped heart and a smooth heart. And that's on page 154, 153, 153. Okay, so that's the heart punch double pack. You can still get that. Just coincidentally, the scrap paper that I'm using is on the clearance rack as I'm recording this. This is called Sweet Talk. So if you want this exact same paper, they may or may not still have it depending on, you know, when this video comes out. So here we go. You are going to need 2 pieces of your cardstock, so go ahead and take 2 pieces out. And your first piece is going to be measured at 6 5/8 by 10 1/4. So I'm going to do my 10 1/4 first. So 10 1/4. I am going to do this one real time because someone has asked me to do that, so I will. And this one is 6 5/8. So the only thing I did off camera was I did cut some of the pattern paper because it actually was already cut to those measurements in my scrap pack, just coincidentally. Alright, so that was 6 5/8 by 10 1/4. Now, on all 4 sides, we're going to score it at 5/8 and 1 1/4. Alright, so go ahead and get your board. 5/8, 1 3 5. 5/8 is the tick mark between the half and the 3/4. And then 1 1/4. 5/8, 1 1/4. 5/8, 1 1/4. 5/8, 1 1/4. Okay. So we got that piece done. Now we need to cut a piece that measures 4 1/8 by 7 3/4. Okay. So this is what I did to save paper. Okay. I put the long side on the top of my paper cutter and I cut it at 4 1/8. Okay, so 4 1/8. And then I'm going to cut it down to 7 3/4. Okay. All right. So this piece, nothing gets done to it. So this is 4 1/8 by 7 3/4. Okay. Now our next piece, we're going to bring that rest of our cardstock in, and we're going to cut this one at 4 3/4 by 7 3/4. Okay. So these are your, you know, these are, well, these two are nice scraps you can use to punch your hearts, your decorations. This is what we end up with. So not too many scraps. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and, oh, we need to do one more thing. On the 7, excuse me, the 4 3/4 by 7 3/4, we need to score that on the short side at 5/8 of an inch. Okay. This is your card flap. Right? Okay. So on the 4 3/4 by 7 3/4, we need to score it on the short side at 5/8 of an inch. Right. Now we need to go ahead and varnish. So just with your favorite varnishing tool. So again, you have 3 pieces of cardstock for this. Because we're kind of making a tray with a cover basically. So that way you didn't have to use like a larger, like a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, because like Sam said, most people have the 8.5 by 11 more so than they do the 12 by 12. So that's why she did it this way. Which I think is great because not everyone buys the 12 by 12. I do because I like 12 by 12, but anyway. Okay, so everything is varnished. All right, put that aside, put that aside. We are going to focus on our piece that is the 6 5/8 by 10 1/4. That's what we're focusing on. And what we need to do is go ahead and create our flaps. So we're going to do some cutting here. And okay, I'm not going to lie, I had to go and rewatch this little part because the first time I cut it wrong. Which is fine. You just need to have a tab. So if you cut it the wrong way, it is not the end of the world. Mine, you cannot tell where I cut that tab the wrong way. I'm not going to show you the wrong way because then it's going to confuse you. But yeah, I cut it the wrong way. But it worked out just fine. So the correct way to cut it is having your paper facing you. What we're going to do is cut off, completely off the last 2 squares. Okay. Like that on both sides. Okay, so it looks like this, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut up that score line and cut that bottom one off. Okay, so just cut up and cut off. Okay, so I have like this. So if you cut your tabs the wrong way, again, just fix it. It doesn't matter on the bottom which way the tabs are cut. Okay, the top, it matters because you need to have, you know, your tabs looking like this. So pay attention. So if you cut it the wrong way the first time, that's fine because you just make that the bottom like I did, but the top needs to be cut correctly. So we're going to rotate it over. So again, your long sides are to the left and the right, your short sides top and bottom. You're going to cut If you hold your paper like me, you're going to cut off the 2 squares like that. You come on this side, you're going to cut off your 2 squares completely off, okay, like so. Now you're going to cut up that score line and cut this off, okay. We're going to cut up the score line and cut that off, okay. Now you're going to take the tiniest slivers, because this is a small measurement here, so you don't want to take off too much when you do your mitering. Less is more in this box, because if you take off too much, then your lid's not going to close. It's not going to stay closed. Okay. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Again, taking off the tiniest little sliver. That one. And the tiniest little sliver on that one. Okay. Alright, so we're good. That's all the cutting we need to do. You can put your scissors away if you want. Now we just need to work on the bottom here. So we are just going to fold our tabs up, and we're going to put glue on our tabs. Whatever glue you use. Mine's clogged up. There we go. Okay. And you're going to make sure that that corner is flush. Okay, hold it for a second. If you prefer tear and tape, go ahead and use your tear and tape. So we're just working on the bottom. We're not going to touch this. Leave that alone for right now, because we're not going to do the same thing. Okay? Just the bottom. So you have something that looks like this. Okay? Now what you're going to do is kind of fold that first score line like this, and we're going to glue this bottom here. Okay? So all I did was fold it back a little bit, added a tiny bit of glue, and then fold it up, making sure your corners match. And if you varnish it, you'll be able to see it. You'll have a definite clean edge, because this is very high cardstock, and so you don't have to worry about not crisp edges. Alright. So your box should look like this, right? Okay. So now what we're going to do is take that piece of cardstock, the 4 1/8 by 7 3/4, the one that we didn't do anything to, and you're just going to glue it on. Wet glue is probably going to be your best option here, because it will give you that wiggle room. Your tear and tape is kind of a one-shot. Oh, I did forget one thing, but that's okay. I forgot to clip off, forgot to miter these top edges, but that's okay. Alright, so we're going to kind of force our box to match up with this piece of paper here. So just match it nicely. What I was talking about mitering the top is just so your edges don't come out, but you don't necessarily have to do that step. And then push this one in to make sure everything is lined up. See, wet glue gives you that wiggle room to do this. Okay. So mine lined up just fine. I didn't have any overhang with those edges, so you can miter those edges or not. I just wanted to see if it worked without mitering. It does. But if you have any overhang, just cut it off. It's fine. Like that has a tiny little bit of overhang, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so I'm just going to fuss with it. You know, just put your ruler or your hand or whatever you got in there to make sure Look at how, see, this is the quality cardstock because I could fit my hand in there. And it's just fine. It didn't tear anything. But I would suggest getting a ruler or something that you can fit in there and make sure you really varnish it down. You're good to go. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and with my 1/4 inch corner rounder, I'm going to round my corners just because I like that look. I think I'm going to round it. You can leave your box straight if you want. Alright, so this part is done. I think she decorated this piece first, but, I mean, you don't have to, you can. It probably would have been easier, but I didn't do it, so. Now you need to decide if you want your box to open here to the front or you want it to open to the back. So this one had it opening to the back. This one I'll have it open to the front. So that's the front. So now we're going to take our other piece. You're going to just glue it right on that left side. Okay. Again, you can decorate now or later. I'm just going to do later. Okay. All right, so just line it up like this. And that's it. Okay, so now essentially your box is done. Obviously let your glue dry. And then go ahead, while your glue is drying, go ahead and cut your pieces. You're going to need 1, 2, 3 pieces of 4 by 7 5/8. I didn't have enough scraps to get 3 full pieces, and so I paper pieced. So if you use 1 sheet of 12 by 7 5/8, you're gonna get 2 full, this little sliver, and you're gonna get your 2 spine pieces. Okay, so I'm just gonna paper piece again because I don't want to cut a whole nother sheet just for, and I don't have another sheet of the hearts, just for that little bit of piece here. So same thing with this. This is what I have, this little piece, and then I just added the stripes to give it a little bit more texture, and so I didn't have to cut more paper. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my spine pieces on. These spine pieces are just slightly over 1/2 inch. You know, whatever makes you comfortable with your borders, that's what you're gonna do. So we're gonna decorate this. I would probably sell this with the candy bar for $3 to $5. You're gonna know your market better than I am, obviously. There's certain places, like if I went to the huge craft fairs that we have twice a year with a specific company, I'm selling them for $5. But if I'm doing the one for like the little schools, I'll sell it for $3. Maybe even $4. I don't know. If you have directional paper like this one, you need to pay attention to your directions. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the back, which I want a full piece on the back. This, again, you can use your favorite adhesive. This one you can use tape runner. You're just adding designer series paper to cardstock. But I like wet glue. Again, check my direction. Here we go. This one is a little bit hard if you don't have the candy bar in there, to get that, making sure you get that good adhesion. All right, now I'm gonna do, here's my arm. What I'm gonna do is make sure that my arm can flip back and forth nicely now that the glue is dry. And I'm going to go ahead and put my cover piece on, checking my direction. Again, these pieces are 4 by 7 and 5/8 because I only like a little bit of a border. What I'm doing off camera is just putting glue on it. Y'all get that. Okay, so put that on here. Make sure it's on there straight. Okay. Now my inside piece, I'm going to glue this here, and I'm going to have the stripes on the left. I mean, you're supposed to trust in your paper collections that the designers you know, use the color wheel and whatnot, and everything matches. So, trusting in my paper collection. And I'm just going to layer this where I want it. That is not where I want it. So this would probably be easier to mat while it's, you know, not stuck on. But as you can see, it's okay. If I was making a bunch of these, I probably would mat all the pieces first and then connect them together. Okay. I'm just going to add this little strip right on top. I just want to make sure that they're even on the top and bottom so it looks intentional and not like a mistake. I could cut the piece down and make it 2 separate pieces, but I'm just going to overlay it. I think that looked really nice. And it kind of brings in the Highland Heather with these stripes. Alright, so I felt real red was too much with it. You know, this pattern is really red, and I don't have the other paper, which it was I want to say it was Petal, no, it was Blush, was it Blushing Bride? I felt like Blushing Bride didn't match, but I didn't even try Petal Pink. I do have Petal Pink, but oh well, I like this. Okay, I forgot to get my white panel. So white is the same measurement, 4 by 7 and 5/8. And again, you can paper piece, but I have plenty of white cardstock, so I'll just get a new piece. Alright, and my paper trimmer. Cut it at 4. And 7 and 5/8. I typically do not decorate a lot. I am a very clean and simple crafter. Obviously, you're going to decorate it as much as you want or as little as you want. I'm going to use, what color? I think I'm going to use Real Red for this one. So let me grab that ink pad. Okay, I found it. Again, we're not really focusing on what stamp set I'm using. I'm pretty sure this is not in the catalog anymore. Let me double check. Okay, so it is a retired set. So again, we're not focusing on what I'm using to stamp with, but we are focusing on the gorgeous cardstock. Alright, but I wanted to show you guys this in real time because I was asked to do that. So you can get your Stamparatus out. If I'm doing multiple, I'm going to definitely get my Stamparatus out. Since I'm only going to do one, I'm just going to freehand it, kind of freehand it where I want it. Stamparatus probably would have been a lot easier. And yes, I'm being picky as to which way my O is going. My O is an oval more so than a circle. So I have no idea where my favorite block is, so I'm going to use the big block here. And I just made it crooked. So I'm going to reset that. My favorite block is the H block, the long skinny block, in case you're new here. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up. Straight down, straight up. Tap, 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 tap. And then I'm going to stamp it straight down and straight up. Lining it up on your grid paper. Stampin' Up does have grid paper. It's beautiful grid paper. I use it anytime I'm going to like a crop or anything like that. Okay. So a paper thing fell. That's what that noise was, in case the camera picked it up. Alright, we're going to use our chamois. Mine's very well loved, this little piece. I cut mine so it fits in a little container that I have. And wipe that off. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take our block and we're going to use our other stamp, which is going to be a heart on a piece of scrap paper. So I'm going to... This is when you don't clean your blocks, when you use Stays-On ink. I didn't know what I was doing. This was like 10 years ago or so. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't clean my blocks immediately. And, you know, Stays-On is stays on. It stays on. Alright, so I stamped it once because I don't want it dark, and then I stamped it a second time because I want that light color. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean that. I'm going to get my Memento black ink. And, yes, the reds do stain your stamps. They just do. The reds and the purple inks are going to stain your stamps. There's nothing you can do about it. It's fine. It doesn't hurt the stamp at all. Oh, I need that. I'm going to use this little Happy to Have You in My Life stamp. And I'm going to... stamp it on top of that light red, the Memento Tuxedo Black. Ink it very well because you only have one shot if you are using, you know, hand stamping. But if you're using your Stamparatus and you don't ink it very well, you just re-ink it and keep it moving. Alright. Okay. And in case you're wondering, I keep my chamois moist with just a spray bottle that I bought from, I don't know, probably Dollar Tree. Yes, I am putting my stamps back on here because I feel like I'm going to lose it. So I'm just putting them back on real quick. This is part of the process. Right. Okay. So now what I need to do... So I didn't think this through and I stamped everything on top of here, so now my paper's dirty. So I need to redo it. Flip it on the back and redo it. Okay. So this is where I was saying that you can, if you're doing this for a craft fair, I would go ahead and put the tear and tape on the back and then just kind of put it, you know, next to it. Obviously, if you're doing it for a craft fair, you're not going to give them one that has stuff on the back because they're going to be like, okay, well, which side do I do it? So that's just some tips. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that piece down because I'm okay with writing on it while it's glued down. Okay. Okay. So let's get it on there as best as we can, as straight as we can. And there we go. Okay, so it's done. Now you can choose to put a ribbon closure, gosh, I couldn't do it, a belly band, whatever you want. I just chose to do a simple, quick type thing. Use your scraps and your punches really quick, because you don't want to spend a lot of time on these, just because, you know, you're going to give it away or you're going to sell it, and let's be honest, most people are just going to throw it away. Okay, so don't put, you know, obviously make it quality, but don't put your entire, you know, time into it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and use a scrap paper for the heart punch. Here we go. I think I'm going to do the stripes again, since I did the stripes on the inside. So I'll do the stripes again on the outside. And I glued it down. And then I popped the sentiment up with dimensionals, and then I popped the whole entire heart up with dimensionals. So you can use, you know, if you want the whole thing to be super thick, you can use dimensionals on every single piece of this. It's up to you. Here's my little sentiment. Now, what I did was I just took my paper trimmer and I cut around it, but I'm thinking I might be able to use one of my square punches and just round the corners. Here we go. Yeah, so you want to make a, cut this out in a 1 1/4 inch square. Cut it out with your paper trimmer if you have the punches, or if you have dies, whatever you have. Make this 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, and take your corner rounder and corner round. You can ink the edges and all that, but again, you know, keep your audience in mind. Most of them are just gonna toss it. They're gonna take the candy bar out of it, think it's cute, come, you know, February 15th, and this joker's in the trash. Okay, so we're not gonna put $30 worth of work into it and only charge $3 to $5, right? Your time is valuable. Okay, we're gonna center that as best as we can. We're going to add dimensionals. Add as many or as few as you want. Don't judge people for their dimensional usage, because it's a personal preference. This one I used 3, and it's just fine. This one I have 6. Why? Because that's just what I felt I needed at this point in time. When I did the example, I didn't feel like I needed that many. Okay, directional. Put it in the center. There you go. You can add anything you want. You can add some gems on there. You can add some glitter drops, whatever you want to complete your project, but it is done. You can write a special note. Thank you for being my teacher. Put your picture, put your candy bar, you know, whatever you want to do. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.